Hi everyone, welcome to our channel Crocodile Skin Tattoos. How are you guys? I think everyone are very fine. Today we are going to learn and know about the needles which we use in tattoo studios. Tattoo needles have a unique structure compared to other types of needles. Instead of having one point like a sewing needle, they contain a series of needle points called pins. Pins comes in various sizes and tapers, can be combined in different ways to create a range of tattoo needles. All these options fall into 6 basic groupings. They are round liner needles, round shader needles, and Magnum needles. So in the Magnum needles we are containing 2, curved Magnum and flat Magnum. Now coming to the round liner needles, the pins on the round liner needles are soldiered in a round pattern to produce crisp and clean lining tattoo work. So this is commonly used for dot work and lining work, both bold and intricate script and lettering. So these needles have from 5 RL to 18 RL and etc. And these are the tips which we use for these needles. Now coming to the round shader needles, round shaders are very similar to round liners, except the pins are not placed as close together. For as well as doing thicker lines, they can also be used for color filling and basic shading. They are commonly used for some line work, script and lettering, basic shading and color filling. So these are also having 5 RS to 18 RS. These are the tips we use for the needles. Now coming to the Magnum shader needles, Magnum shaders are preferred grouping or needle type for pretty much all shading work. Magnums hold and deliver a lot of ink, making them for large areas of color packing and shading. Less passes are required over an area to work the ink in, meaning less trauma to the skin. They are commonly used in black and grey, all type of shadings and color packing. In this we are containing 2 types. One other is a curved Magnum shader needle, which is in a curve shape. We can see here. And they are soft Magnums, soft edge Magnums, and we have other one is double stack Magnum and a single stack Magnum. So these are the Magnum needles and the overall needles which we look here. And we have the other different needles. I'll show you I'll tell you in the other thing. So here are the cartridges. So needle cartridges are available in all of the same styles as a regular needle. They cost more than a basic needle, but they are especially versatile. With a traditional needle and tube setup, you would need to prepare multiple tattoo machines to be able to switch between needle configurations. With tattoo cartridges, you can simply swap out the tips on one machine. Cartridges are single use, so when you are finished tattooing, you can throw them away with minimal cleanup. Standard needles should only be used once as well, but they often allow more ink and build up to collect in the grip of your tattoo machine. So they come into 2 styles of tips. So one is an open tip and the other is closed tip. The open tips are on the top, allowing the full needle bar to exposed, and the enclosed around the needle bar is a closed tip. So now coming to the needles, these are a liner cartridge needles, round liner cartridge needles, only work for liner, and these have 5 RL to 18 RL etc. Now coming to the second needles, these are round shader cartridge needles. These are used for only shading, and these also contain 5 RS to 18 RS etc. And coming to the last thing, Magnum needles. Cartridges Magnum needles are very large and huge needles, can see here. These have 5 RMG to 15 RMG, and these 2 are shaders and this is only for liner. So these are the cartridges needles we use, and mainly, especially if you are just starting out, you may not have much experience with cartridges needles. Here are, so I'll explain you the 6 steps for choosing the right cartridge and configuration. Check the quality of the needle. Inspect the needle for stability. Examine the tip of the needle. Check for the membrane. Investigate every needle in the box. Measure the price versus quality, and you need to check the expiry dates on the needles as well. So now we'll talk about the needle sizes in their diameters. The gauge of a tattoo needle is directly ink to ink flow. The narrower the gauge or diameter, the more controlled and finer the flow of ink is. The gauge is indicated by a number 8 to 12. So 8 gauge 0.25 mm diameter is one of the smaller needle gauges available and sometimes referred to as buck pins. Now coming to the second, 10 gauge 0.30 mm diameter. So this is a very common needle size, also referred as double zeros. Popular with all styles of tattooing and needle groupings, as fundamentally they are the middle gauge size. These are the 10 gauge 0.33 mm measurement diameters. Now coming to the 12th gauge. 12th gauge has 0.35 mm diameter. Just like the 0.30 mm needles, 12 gauges are highly popular across the needle groupings and tattoo styles. Anyhow, referring to 12 or 0.35 mm needles may also call them standards. Now coming to the 14 gauge 0.40 mm diameter, just like the 0.35 mm needles, 14 gauges are highly popular across all needle groupings and tattoo styles. And referring 14 or 0.40 mm needles may also called as them standard needles. So these are the sizes in diameters of all the needles here. So now to buy a needle, what the things you have to look at for buy a needle, I'll explain you here clearly. So firstly, needles are pre-sterilized or not. So here come the needles here are very sterilized with the expiry dates on the sheets. You need to check the needles are pre-sterilized or not. We can confirm all the needles sold at are individually blister packaged and EO gas sterilized. So these are EO gas sterilized needles. Now coming to the second point, are the needles well made? So needles are made well or not. You need to check the needles. Be sure to check the needles or pins are straight and securely soldered on the needle bar. Crooked or bent needles can cause major skin damage if you don't notice you are using one. So you need to check a needle well made or not. Now then the next thing is, needles work with my equipment. Be sure to check that needles you are looking to purchase will match your setup. Make sure you don't need tattoo cartridges as in tattoo needles. Also make sure you have or buy the correct tubes or tips to match your needle gauge, size and type. So finally, are these tattoo needles right for what I want to do? So these are right or not, we need to check. You don't want to buy some 15 Magnum needles if you specially need to carry out some sleek line work. Some applies if you need to fill in some large color or do some soft shading. You don't want to end up realizing you have bought some small round liner needles. Again, be sure to check out our hardy guide above, which will indicate what type of a tattoo work each needle configuration is used for. So in this way, you need to check all the needles and while buying. So please subscribe, like, share and comment. Thank you all for supporting us. Meet you in the next video. Bye bye.